Good morning. Welcome to the Premium Public Video Forecast discussion for Friday, August 2nd, 2024. Of course, I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. So we start off in the tropics. Most of the tropics is quiet, but there is one pesky tropical wave that we have been monitoring for quite some time. It was supposed to develop already, but it has not. It is instead kind of over Cuba, and it's festering about here, but no low-level circulation. There is plenty of convection, so it's certainly a vigorous tropical wave. And model guidance, which is what has been driving a lot of the analysis and the focus on this wave, continues to suggest, well, originally it was suggesting that it would develop here, then here, now, maybe more around the Keys or around the eastern Gulf of Mexico. If I sound a little skeptical, it is because I have a general rule when it comes to forecasting for warm core low pressure systems. Don't get caught up in the synoptic scale solutions, whether it's the GFS, the European, the UK Met. I've even seen people use that. Don't get caught up in that until you actually get a warm core low pressure system developed, because there are far too many factors, unknown factors, just in the development of that low pressure system before you can get wrapped up in this. Now, there are a couple of things that we know, we're going to go over that will give us a ballpark of what to expect. And some of the model guidance is coming into that range based on the 500 millibar pattern. But I would hazard to stay away from any type of intensification idea, because until we get an established low level circulation and we know the structure of the low, whether it has a great vertical setup or whether there's a little bit of slant in the circulation or there's some dry air, we don't know any of those questions. And they're all extremely important when it comes to forecasting for warm core low pressure systems. So when I take a look at the surface map here, and this is from Earth News School, earthnewschool.net, free website, by the way. It's a wonderful thing, right? So right now, the the tropical wave is around here. And notice you're not really seeing much in the way of any type of circulation here. Maybe a trough trying to take shape here or here. But you have to be careful because a lot of this is being influenced by the nature of Cuba, which has a pretty extensive mountain range and can alter the low level circulation of tropical waves. So we really have to wait until it kind of gets past Cuba and basically gets to around here to really establish, hey, we have a tropical depression forming or anything of that nature. And that's going to take another 24 hours for us to get to that point. So in the meantime, we take a look at the model guidance here, and we got the GFS, the European, the Canadian, and the UK Met. We use a variety of different models. The graph model, which is somewhat of a tropical model, which I don't have access to. I can't show on here. I don't have the license for it, but I took a look at that, and it doesn't really develop it all that well. So maybe a tropical depression, possibly a tropical storm. When we take a look at the GFS version, again, stay away from the intensity idea, because this looks like a lot of convective feedback here. So you end up with that loop. But the overall idea is that it's tracking along the southeast coast once it develops around Florida. And the track is over the coastal waters. The European basically does almost the same thing. It breaks it a little bit further north as possibly a tropical storm or tropical depression with plenty of rainfall for the northern mid-Atlantic. The difference in these two, in terms of the evolution, is the nature of the jet streak at 300 and 250 millibars. And I'll explain why in just a moment. And then, of course, here is the Canadian, which, kind of splits the difference between the two. And the UK Mets doing UK Met things, but not too far away. Again, that intensification idea, we can't rule it out 100%, but I would use extreme caution in trusting it. And by the way, in this setup here, the difference in terms of the intensity to low influences the nature of the upper level pattern because it builds up the ridge over the Atlantic. So maybe it locks it in a little bit closer to the coast, or it interacts with the trough a little more. So there's a lot of wild cards here. But the reason why I'm a little bit more questionable of this solution is that you have a nice jet streak in place over there. So vertical wind shear, which could do one or two things. It could intensify the storm because it enhances the outflow on the northeast side of the circulation, or it just shreds it to pieces. So you can see all these different factors here. And the intensification idea, first you have to have a very strong core established, and then you get that enhancement. If it's already slanted, it's more likely to rip it apart. So what I'm trying to say is, don't get too tied up on the long range solution a week out on this feature that hasn't even developed yet. So we have a lot of wild cards here. I know that you want more details, and I would give them to you if I knew them. But anyone who is honest with you would say, yeah, we have to wait for this thing to actually form first before we can really dive into more details. Meanwhile, closer to home, one thing I can tell you that's a constant detail is the mugginess around here. The humidity will not stop. I was just saying this to my wife the other day. The conditions wouldn't be so bad out if it didn't feel like a sauna all the time. Like literally, you walk out and it feels like as if you're just walking into a wall of humidity. And this morning is no different. We have temperatures ranging from the lower to mid 70s over the northern interior, upper 70s to lower 80s along the coast. You have your dew points, which are pretty much the same throughout the region. Lower to mid 70s, upper 60s up here in northern Connecticut. But you get the idea here. It's muggy out. Our temperatures are already pushing through the 80s. It already feels like the lower 90s, which means today's going to be a bit of a hot day. And we have this stationary front. Now, yesterday was supposed to be completely dry, which of course means I finally get a thunderstorm to set up here over Freehold, which we haven't seen any rain when it was supposed to rain. I'm just talking about Freehold itself. And then when it's not supposed to rain, naturally we get a thunderstorm. That is the nature of this summer. And the nature of this summer is that we're going to be dealing with these stationary fronts and troughs. Not much of a change in the air mass, but with all of this moisture in the atmosphere, well, here we have the setup here. This morning we have precipitable water values over 1.5 inches. Now, once you get over 2 inches, that's some real tropical moisture. We're not there yet, but certainly a moisture-loaded atmosphere is in place. And with that moisture-loaded atmosphere, we have on our skew T this morning a bit of an inversion here, but you can see what the potential here as our temperatures rise up into the 90s. We have the potential here for a very unstable atmosphere. Our downburst wind gusts, our down cape here is 1,159 joules per kilogram. So if you get a thunderstorm lifting all this moisture into a drier pocket of air, that cool air is going to slam towards the ground, and that could produce an isolated severe thunderstorm due to downburst wind gusts pushing winds over 55 miles per hour. Otherwise, our surface-based cape is around 1,563 joules per kilogram. And for those of you who may not know what that means, it means there's plenty of energy loaded up in this atmosphere, a lot of potential energy ready to rock. But right now we have a bit of an inversion, which is acting like a cap right now. But what I want to point out here, the winds here are awfully weak. So these thunderstorms that develop, not much in the way of vertical wind shear, so not anything that's tornadic or anything of that nature, but they're going to be slow moving. And when you have slow moving thunderstorms with plenty of moisture to work with, that can lead to quite a bit of moisture, quite a bit of rainfall. And notice, I want to point out here the relative humidity between 300 and 850 millibars is 49%. So you take all this deep tropical moisture and you throw it into a drier environment, and you end up with a bit of an issue here with those downburst wind gusts and the very intense heavy downpours. And also, this is a perfect environment for frequent lightning. So what could trigger it? Well, this is the frontal genesis at 925 millibars. We can also pull up the surface as well. And what I did is I left the radar overlay on top of this. You can see there's our frontal genesis, there's our lifting, there's our thunderstorm. Here's our frontal genesis, there's our thunderstorms. Kind of get the point here. This stationary front hanging around is going to act like a trigger. And these showers and thunderstorms are going to pop off. And then as they pop off, the outflow boundaries are going to also create their own little areas of trigger and like mini cold fronts. And that's going to produce other areas of thunderstorms. So it's like a contagious outbreak, right? You get one thunderstorm popped off, and then that can lead to others popping off as well. And so when we take a look at our water vapor satellite picture, wow, that is one vigorous upper level low. Now again, here's our tropical disturbance down here. Okay, right down here. Here is our upper level low, and our trough starting to establish itself. And the thing I want you to notice is that this trough has a bit of what we call positive tilt. So here's our positive tilt. It lines up with our stationary boundary. It sends short waves through. This is just kind of meanders about and then slowly lifts up towards the St. Lawrence River Valley as it runs into the influence of the Western Atlantic Ridge. So it's trying to push through. It doesn't, heads up towards the St. Lawrence River Valley. We end up with this trough lingering on the East Coast. And what does that look like? That looks like this right now. So this trough establishes itself. It sets up the southwesterly flow. So anything that tries to develop here is going to get drawn northward, either off the coast. So somewhere in this area right here that interacts with the trough, and the cooler air aloft that's going to be hanging out right around the Great Lakes. And so the combination of that two sets up the threat for thunderstorms that move slowly, that train over themselves. And yes, there's a good potential here that some locations will end up with some pretty good rainfall. Much like yesterday, southeast Pennsylvania. Some locations had rainfall over 2 inches. Other locations less than 2/100th of an inch. That is the nature of this summer. I've had a couple of people already mention, like, hey, I was supposed to get thunderstorms. I didn't get any. I'm like, no, you had a threat for thunderstorms, and there's an equal threat. You won't get any, and that is the nature of summer precipitation, which is why it's never a good idea to try to break a drought in the summer, because it's really, really hard to do. On the infrared satellite picture, again, there is our tropical wave, and here is our trough pattern setting up with our stationary front hanging around. On the visible satellite picture, I just want to show the haze of the moisture in the atmosphere. There's our thunderstorms popping off. We have plenty of sunshine, which means our atmosphere is going to start to destabilize. So when we take a look at our latest WeatherTap radar and surface map here, here's our thunderstorms. Here's our stationary front setting up. You got these little troughs as well, and waves of low pressure marching through as well. And this is just pretty much going to meander over the region over the next couple of days, keeping us at the threat for thunderstorms. It doesn't mean you're going to have a washout all weekend, but certainly doesn't mean that you want to have outdoor plans and no backup plans, okay? You want to be prepared here for some of these thunderstorms. And let's see how fast these things are moving here. Let's see if we load it in, and not exactly moving very quickly, are they? So nice and slow on that nice, slow upper level winds. Mild guidance over the next 90 hours. So there's our trough that I was talking about. It's just going to hang around over the next 90 hours or so. By Monday, it starts to shift off the coast and then reestablish itself. And then there is our tropical wave that could develop. And we'll see how it interacts. Now, one thing that's interesting with this tropical wave is that you actually could pick up some more subtropical characteristics interacting with this trough. So it may not be fully tropical. So there's a lot of questions involved for the end of next week. This weekend is going to be pretty straightforward. Plenty of moisture in the atmosphere, pesky short waves, weak upper level winds, all means threat for thunderstorms. Not a washout, but certainly a bit of a pain. And you can see the Cape values here aren't exactly through the roof in terms of widespread severe thunderstorms, but certainly you could see the potential here with some of these thunderstorms rapidly developing for a short period of time and then pulsing, especially in the afternoon and evening hours. So when we take a look at that with our 700 millibar relative humidity, I wanted to show this just to show over the next 90 hours through this weekend. Again, we're not dealing with widespread moisture at 700 millibars. They're in pockets, scattered showers and thunderstorms. So this tells me, hey, look, yeah, it's going to be active, but it's not going to be a washout. And here's our HRR guidance. Again, I wouldn't take this verbatim, but you certainly see towards later on in the afternoon and in the overnight hours, the threat for showers and thunderstorms producing heavier downpours. Again, use this with a severe grain of salt until we actually get the thunderstorms established, but you can see what the potential here is on the NAM. Same scenario here playing out. Waves of showers and thunderstorms, not a washout all day, but you want to be prepared. And so when we take a look at our forecast for today, scattered showers and thunderstorms, hazy, hot, and humid. Look for high temperatures in the upper 80s to lower 90s over the interior along the coast, mid to upper 90s in the Delaware River Valley, and it's going to feel like it's around 100 degrees. It's going to feel disgusting out. For Saturday, stationary front hangs around, scattered showers and thunderstorms. Again, this isn't a washout. It looks like a washout, but in reality, you got a lot of scattered showers and thunderstorms hanging around. Look for low temperatures in the upper 60s to lower 70s over the northern interior, lower to mid 70s along the coast, high temperatures in the mid to upper 80s over the northern interior, lower to mid 80s along the coast, and upper 80s to lower 90s in the Delaware River Valley. On Sunday, rinse and repeat. A threat for scattered showers and thunderstorms. Look for low temperatures in the upper 60s to lower 70s over the northern interior, lower to mid 70s along the coast. High temperatures in the upper 70s to lower 80s over the northern interior, lower to mid 80s along the coast, and mid to upper 80s in the Delaware River Valley. On Monday, look for scattered cloud cover with only an isolated threat for showers and thunderstorms. Look for low temperatures in the mid to upper 60s over the northern interior, upper 60s to lower 70s along the coast. High temperatures in the mid to upper 80s over the interior and along the coast, upper 80s to lower 90s in the Delaware River Valley. On Tuesday, a cold front will press to the south, and that's going to lead to scattered showers and thunderstorms, mostly in the evening hours. Look for low temperatures in the mid to upper 60s over the northern interior, lower to mid 70s along the coast. High temperatures in the mid to upper 80s over the interior and along the coast, lower to mid 90s in the Delaware River Valley. On Wednesday, that stationary front hangs around with scattered showers and thunderstorms. Look for low temperatures in the lower to mid 60s over the northern interior, mid to upper 60s along the coast. High temperatures in the lower to mid 70s because of the cloud cover and scattered showers and thunderstorms being more extensive. Then on Thursday, we're going to watch this low pressure system. So right now we still have that stationary front hanging around so we're going to go scattered showers and thunderstorms. If this low pressure system is a little bit closer to the coast, like what the European is showing, then we'll have a little bit more widespread rainfall, especially towards the evening hours. Look for low temperatures in the mid to upper 50s over the northern interior, lower to mid 60s along the coast. High temperatures in the mid to upper 70s. And on Friday, again, we'll watch and see the development of this low pressure system. Right now, the forecast is scattered showers and thunderstorms, but if this low pressure system is depicted like this, then you'll end up with more widespread rainfall, which we kind of need anyway. Look for low temperatures in the upper 50s to lower 60s over the northern interior, lower to mid 60s along the coast, and high temperatures in the mid to upper 70s over the interior and along the coast, upper 70s to lower 80s in the Delaware River Valley. That is your forecast discussion for today. Have a wonderful day, and as always, stay safe out there.